Welcome everyone to the first Impetus Open Call webinar in the first Impetus Open Call. My name is Gefjon Thoma. I'll be your host today, and I will start by talking to you through a little bit of housekeeping about this webinar and how it is going to go. This is the first of two webinars. The second one will happen on the 14th February. So should you be watching this as a recording and it's before the 14th, you can still register. The webinars are recorded and will be made available online, so please be aware of that should you ask questions in person. For best functionality, we recommend that you use the Microsoft Teams desktop app because that will give you the best interaction with the question and answer feature. But if you can't, you are all muted by default, but if you raise your hand for questions later, we can demute you and then you can ask your questions if that is easier. All questions will be answered after the presentation. So we have a bit of an overview for you first, and then after that, we will go through the Q&A. What we will talk about today is what is Impetus, where are we coming from? What is the Impetus Open Call, with the two parts of the call for the Impetus Accelerator and the European Union Prize for Citizen Science, and then we have questions at the end. First, let me introduce my team. As I said, my name is Gefjon Thoma. I'm from King's College London. I'm the technical coordinator of Impetus and also the lead of the accelerator part of the call. Andrew, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Andrew Newman. I'm at Ars Electronica and I'm responsible for the European Union Prize for Citizen Science. And I'm also joined by my colleague Vanessa, if you would like to introduce yourself.
Yes, thank you. Hi, I'm working together with Andrew also on the European Union Prize for Citizen Science.
Thank you. We also have Pablo, who is not on the slide because he joined last minute, and Andrea. So I don't know if you want to quickly say hello, otherwise we'll just move on. They will be available for questions later in any case. Right, let me go through Impetus. You have probably found us either on Eventbrite or on social media, on our website. One way or another, you signed up for this webinar, so you probably have a rough idea of what we're about. But just to give you an overview of, as a project, what is Impetus? We are a coordination and support action funded by the European Commission to focus on diversity, impact, and inclusion in citizen science. And we do that in two ways, through the Accelerator and the European Union Prize for Citizen Science. In the Accelerator, we fund and support new and established citizen science initiatives. And our goal is to enable them to become more inclusive, more participatory, more impactful, especially with regards to their contribution to the European Green Deal and Sustainable Development Goals. So a big part of Impetus is making sure that citizen science can contribute to policy and maximize that input. And then we have the European Union Prize for Citizen Science, which we'll go into a lot more detail about later, which is here to recognize outstanding citizen science projects and their contribution to science and society. So these are the two parts, and we'll talk about both of those in turn later. So just to explain what sort of the general structure is, we have Impetus at the top. This is sort of the host project for both of these. We have the Accelerator call, which has two types of grants, kickstarting grants and sustaining grants with two challenges. Again, we'll go into that in a moment. And we have the European Union Prize for Citizen Science, which has three different awards: the Grand Prize, the Diversity Award, and the Digital Communities Award. So this is sort of the basic structure, and all of these things are things that you can apply for through this open call. Let me start out with just a little bit about what citizen science is, because we'll talk a lot about how citizen science is supported in Impetus and what we do around citizen science. I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page about what citizen science is. And you can also find this definition and some examples on our website. So for Impetus, we define citizen science as the public participating in scientific research activities when citizens actively contribute to science. And this active contribution is really important to us. There's a range of things what that can look like. It can be different levels of participation, from data collection or citizens training or co-designing projects or questions, and also contributing to policy. But it is important that projects have the intention to contribute to research. So there must be a research goal in the project in order for it to qualify as citizen science, and to produce new research-based knowledge, and for the activities to be carried out by participating citizens. So it's not scientists doing their thing and then citizens doing a little piece. Projects should be designed around citizen participation, should be at the core of the projects.
And I might also just add here, Gefin, that when we're talking about research, it's not exclusively the natural sciences as what we might often think of when we think of citizen science, but it can also include research that's engaging citizens in social sciences, the humanities, or even artistic research. So it is research that engages citizens and not just the natural sciences. So this is a question that often gets brought up, but we want to emphasize that it broadens to all research.
Indeed, thank you very much. I think I have that on my next slide, but it's really good to say early on. Thank you. Right, from there, let me start you in the first part of the webinar, really, which is about the accelerator and what it is and what you can do with it. Just for a brief overview to start, the Impetus accelerator will allow successful applicants to implement a 6-month-long project, and the period will be between 15th June and 15th December. So if you apply and you are successful, this is a period in which you need to be available, or like broadly available. Obviously, if there's that annual leave and stuff, that is acceptable, but that is the period where it has to be implemented, and there is no changing those dates. Depending on which grant you apply for and are eligible for, you can receive either €20,000 funding for new projects in our Kickstarting grants, and I'll talk more about what that means in a moment, or €10,000 for established projects in our sustaining grants. And we have a set number available of each of these. At the start of the process, you will be assigned a mentor to guide you through the whole thing. So from the beginning to the end, you will have one point of contact that will be there to answer your questions, help you access resources, and manage your participation in the program. We will also provide extensive training and support suitable to whatever you need. So depending on what your project is about and what your needs are, whether you are in the Kickstarting or sustaining grant, the options are available for both. But what you need depends on what you want out of the program, and we will try and make that suitable as much as we can within the limits of the project. We will arrange regular meetings across projects to enable peer learning as well. So obviously you will meet us and you will meet trainers and you will meet mentors, but we also want the cohorts in the project, which will be above 30 projects in each, to interact and learn from each other, and we will facilitate that. And then you will deliver the project, including outreach activities, reports, and any other outputs that you agree with your mentor at the start throughout those 6 months. I'll talk more about sort of the actual commitments and sort of the details of what that is in a moment. When you apply, we would like you to consider how Impetus as a whole can benefit your project, not just the funding. Please also consider what types of training you might want, how you could benefit from mentoring, and all of the other parts of the project, because it's meant to be one holistic thing. It's not just about the money, although I appreciate that is a key part of it. As I said initially, we have 2 challenges in this open call. And you can apply within the sustaining or Kickstarting grants for either of these. So you have one type of grant and one challenge, and you can mix and match those however you like. However, you can only apply for one. The first challenge is citizen science for a healthy planet. What we are looking for here are citizen science projects that contribute to sustainable development goals related to the theme of a healthy planet for all. That is specifically Sustainable Development Goals number 3, good health and well-being, number 6, clean water and sanitation, and number 15, life on land. And we've broken this down into a couple of subtopics that we're particularly interested in, which are related to water, so water ecosystems and their use, water use efficiency, water quality, water pollution. Land, so this is projects that could be projects that look into soil quality or soil pollution, sustainable use of soil and woodlands and other related things. And the last is biodiversity, where we're looking at for projects that investigate natural habitats, invasive species, environmental monitoring, conservation. All of these things would be eligible. You should contribute with your project, with your application, to at least one of these topics. It doesn't have to be more, but it has to be at least one of them. And it should be related to the established indicators for these goals. And the links are all in the documents on our website. So if you want to look at the details, you can do that there. You should provide monitoring data or directly contribute to the achievement of these sustainable development goals at regional, local, national level, whichever is suitable for your project. For this challenge, we are explicitly not looking for projects addressing air pollution, because we will do that in other challenges, in other calls. So if your project is about air pollution, just be aware that for the Healthy Planet Challenge, it would not be suitable. The second challenge, which was designed by our citizen panel, is about citizen science for cities for life. This is looking for projects that have the capacity to help make European cities more livable, productive, and resilient. So this is all about urban areas and what we can do in urban areas to improve the quality of life. And we're looking at a couple of sub-challenges here, including projects that tackle health issues or contribute to tackling health issues. Obviously, we're not expecting you to change, to solve all of these problems on your own. But health issues could be including the pandemic, or could be something completely different, depending on what is relevant in your local area. Projects that deal with climate and ecological emergency. So anything related to those would be eligible, and projects that address social and economic inequalities. And this, as Andrew said initially, explicitly includes social and health sciences and also artistic research, as he said. It's not just the hard sciences that we are looking for here. Your project should support and accelerate the socio-cultural, economic, and technological transformation of an urban context. So it should be, as I said, improve the life in cities wherever the project is based, so long as it's in an eligible country. For eligibility, all projects have to be, so applicants have to be individuals, legal entities, or consortia that can be combined of either of those. They have to have one lead applicant who submits the application and manages the process and the contract with us. All applicants have to be in the European research area. There's a list of countries on our website. Explicitly does include the United Kingdom. So it's including countries that are currently negotiating association status. And as I said, the whole list is on the website. We didn't put it on the slide. In order to be eligible for a kickstarting grant, projects must be no more than 6 months old. So if you have started your project before June last year, you would not be eligible for a kickstarting grant. And you should not have an established community or data collection processes. So this is how we assess whether or not the project is actually kickstarting. If you already have these established, you should be applying for a sustaining grant. Here we are looking explicitly for projects who already have a community, who already have the processes to implement their project, and they're looking to become more sustainable. You should also have initial evidence of impact of what you have already achieved, and verifying that and providing evidence of that will be part of the application process. All applications must be received before the deadline, which is on the 13th March at noon, so lunchtime in Central European time. So noon Brussels, 11 a.m. UK, or depending where you are. Just be aware of the time zones. It's not local time, it's Central European time. How to apply? Your first step would be to check that you are eligible. And there is a guide on our website where you can just click through and answer a couple of questions, and it will tell you what you can and cannot apply for. When you have established that you can apply, you should download the call documents. And I really cannot impress this enough upon you. It's really important that you read the guide for applicants because it has all of the details and all of the eligibility criteria and also a lot of detail about how we assess applications. So if you want to write a good application, you can't really do that without reading the guide. So please make sure that you look at that. Then you should fill in the application form. This is a Word document. It is 5 pages when you get it. You need to delete the first page and make sure that the final thing you submit is no longer than 4 pages. Historically, the primary reason for applications to be ineligible is because they are over length. If your application is more than 4 pages, we will have to reject it. So please make sure that you stay within those limits. Don't change the template. Don't sort of delete the questions or adjust the margins. Take the template as it is, fill it in, bring it within 4 pages, be concise. And then once you're done with your application form, head to EasyChair. You may have to create an account there if you haven't already got one. Enter your details, and there's an option to upload your application form and the declaration of honor. That is also part of the process, and you can download it there. And then you submit. You can make multiple submissions. So you can update the submissions you've made. Please don't, you can also submit multiple times when we'll then take the last one, but it's easier for you and for us if you just update your submission. You can do that as often as you want up to the deadline, and we will consider the last application you have submitted for your application when we assess it. For the application form, as I said, the template cannot be changed. Make a local copy, remove the cover page, answer the questions. Do not change the layout, keep it to 4 pages, answer all of the questions and really think about all of the questions as well. It's important that we have the application form in the structure that we provided and with the questions that we provided. And every single question has a meaning at the review stage. So if you don't answer some of them, we can't properly assess your project. So if you really want the grant, you will have to submit all of the details. You should submit a budget, and it has to be indicative. It doesn't have to be perfect. We've had a lot of questions about that. The budget should show where you plan to spend money, roughly what proportion goes towards staff or goes towards equipment or other things that you may want to spend money on. If you are a consortium, also indicate which of the partners should get which part of the funds, and make sure that the grant money you apply for in your budget matches the grant type you are applying for. So if you are applying for a kickstarting grant, you should have a budget for 20,000 euros. If you are applying for a sustaining grant, you should be applying for 10,000 euros. So make sure that that is reflected in your application form. You can add visual elements to your application, but you don't have to. You should not include external links. I mean, you can include them, but we will not assess them. So anything external to the application form and the form on EasyChair will not be part of the review. So anything that is important should be in the application form, not linked from it, because we can't consider like websites and external resources. In terms of your budget, just a quick overview of eligible costs. You can include salaries, equipment, consumables, travel costs. You can include subcontracting, but it shouldn't be the majority of your budget. And anything aside from subcontracting can also have added indirect expenditure. So you just take everything together, 25% of that you can add on top for indirect costs. You can't receive double funding. So if you've already got a project that is funded elsewhere, or through a Horizon Europe or the Horizon 2020 grant, you can't fund the same activity with an Impetus grant. Sorry. They can be used for complementary purposes. If they slot together, that works, but we can't fund something that is already funded in total. What happens after you submit? Our first step is that we check eligibility with all of the criteria that are listed in the guide for applicants. All eligible applications will then move on to expert review. This is where at least 2 reviewers will look at all of the applications and rank them according to 4 criteria: the idea, the implementation, the team and community, and the impact of the project, which are reflected in the 4 sections of the application form. Each area is ranked from 1 to 5. Every application that achieves at least 3 points in each area and 12 points in total goes on to interview. Interviews with shortlisted applicants will be 20 minutes, and invitations will be sent by the 6th of April. So if you apply by mid-March, by the 6th of April, you will know whether or not you've progressed to interview. Interviews will be held between the 11th and 18th April. And again, we cannot change those timeframes. We will allocate you an interview slot and you will have to be able to make it. So please make sure that that is sort of in your calendar when you apply, that if you go to interview, it will be in that period. And we cannot negotiate dates because with all of the logistics around it, it just won't be possible. All interviews will be conducted on Microsoft Teams. There will be a small presentation and then some Q&A with the interviewers. When interviews are complete, the Impetus Consortium will select the final successful applicants by the 19th of April. So by the 20th, you should have an email from us if you are successful to tell you what the next steps are, which will include a negotiation phase where we prepare the contracts and put all of the necessary documentation together. There will be a boot camp as part of the negotiation phase where between the 22nd and 26th of May, you will have to attend a 1-week online workshop where we will go through a lot of the details required for the contracts as well as for the project plan to then successfully kickstart or start your participation in the accelerator on 15th June. So please be aware of those dates. Lastly, during the accelerator, I said some of this before, you will have to implement a 6-month project. We will expect you to attend trainings and webinars and co-design workshops. There will be monthly update calls and the Impetus aperitif meetings, which are those meetings between the cohorts. You will have to provide a formal report outlining your activities at the midpoint and the end point of the pilot. We will expect some sort of pictures and texts and short videos for outreach material. You should present your project at events if you can, and you should also consider allocating a portion of your budget to outreach activities. So this is something for you to think about as you apply, how you can implement some of these. You will have to acknowledge Impetus funding and participate in some Impetus impact assessment activities, such as interviews, surveys, or other data collection activities with the Impetus Consortium. There will be guidance on all of these. So we won't give this to you and let you run off and do your, figure it out for yourself. There will be plenty of support on each of these, but you will have to engage with that support as well. I will leave it there for now and hand over to my colleagues from Ars Electronica to talk about the prize.
Thank you, Gefjen. So yes, the second open call is for the European Union Prize for Citizen Science. So this is going to be focused on existing projects that have either been completed in the last 2 years, so either in 2021 or 2022, or are still currently ongoing. So we have 2 awards: the award for diversity and collaboration, which is €20,000, the award for digital communities, which is €20,000 also, and the grand prize, the European Union Prize for Citizen Science, which is a value of €60,000. Alongside that, we'll be awarding 27 honorary mentions. There will be no financial award for these honorary mentions, but they'll be promoted in the outreach of the program, and they will also be awarded during as part of the ceremony. So I'll just click to our next slide. Yeah. So the European Union Prize is aiming to award outstanding achievements in the advancement of knowledge through the empowerment of civil society in the development of the future. So again, to emphasize that we're looking at sort of citizens that are engaged in research within the European research area. So that is kind of the framework, and we're looking for the best and greatest projects that have taken place in the last 2 years in this. The award criteria, so what we're looking for in terms of how we judge what will be winning this prize, are these 6 areas: scientific quality, social quality and policy impact; 3, diversity and collaboration; communication engagement; innovation and creativity, and European dimension. And below that, we see the sub-criteria. These are sorts of areas that we're looking for evidence of. You do not need to fulfill every one of these sub-criteria in terms of the projects. This is just to give you guidelines of what sort of things we're looking for each of these 6 criteria. So you'll be judged on these, and the prizes will be, there's one submission process for each of the categories. So you do not apply separately for the digital communities or for the diversity and collaboration. All applicants to the European Union Prize for Citizen Science will be awarded, will be evaluated for each of these awards and for the honorary mentions. So there's no need to apply for a separate category. So for the Diversity and Collaboration Award, what we'll be looking for in this award will be initiatives that really excel in the area of diversity and collaboration. So that's one of the award criteria there. So these are projects that promote intercultural dialogue through science activities, projects that engage different types of stakeholders, new forms of collaboration, projects with a diverse amount of diverse types of participation, and also demonstrate novel ways of engaging with sort of new audiences, new citizens to participate, and new areas of research. And so the second award is the Digital Communities Award, and this will be judged based, expecting submissions that really excel in the innovation and creativity criteria. So these are awards that make use of digital technologies to enact the initiative, to undertake the research, or are doing research on digital cultures or in the digital sphere. So this is what we're looking for on that, is ones that really make innovative use of digital technologies in doing their citizen science. The eligibility. So the eligibility is applications from citizen science initiatives that have taken place in the European research area. And the European research area is defined by all of the EU member states plus all countries that are either sort of associated to Horizon Europe or currently in negotiation to associate to Horizon Europe. So these are listed here, and as Gefjun already mentioned, they're also on the website. Submissions are open to people, from individuals, from natural persons, from organizations, from legal entities, and from groups of legal entities. So in the case of if you are a non-European national, but you are resident in officially a resident of a European country, that you are eligible then. So you don't need to be a European citizen, but you need to be resident in one of these countries, the EU or the associated Horizon countries. For community initiatives, there has to be a designated sort of spokesperson that acts as the applicant, and this should be sort of fairly acknowledged by all participants in the community. All projects, either ongoing, should be, as I said earlier, should have been done in the last 2 years. They can still be ongoing, but if they completed, they should have not completed before 2021. Otherwise, they will not be eligible. Projects that have received funding, so unlike the accelerator, it does not matter if your project has received any prior funding from the European Union. So if you have received funding, you are still eligible, but this is not a condition of entry. So you don't need to have received funding from the European Union or from any national bodies to be eligible, but it doesn't exclude you if you have. Also, if you applied for the accelerator for a project, this might not be the case so much this year, but for following years, if a project has participated in the Impetus accelerator, it is still eligible to submit to the European Union Prize for Citizen Science. And admissibility. So we're looking for the deadline. Our deadline is at midnight on the 13th of March. So we expect all submissions to be received before then. All submissions have to be made through our submission platform, which is online and hosted at the Ars Electronica website and is linked on the OPENCALL website. There is no fee. And all submissions also to be eligible and admitted need to be in English. So you need to put your submissions in English. So yes, how to apply for the EU Prize for Citizen Science. Again, I emphasize checking your eligibility first. This is linked online, and I also link it in our chat. You also then go to the Submit Now, and then you create an account on our OPENCALL system. You complete the form and you upload any videos, slides, or assets, and I'll speak more on this in the next slide, and then click Submit. So I would just click to the next slide. So this is what we're asking you to submit. So this is an overview of the form information. So obviously the title of your project or initiative, the location. So if it took place in what country, as I said, it has to be taking place in one of the countries that are eligible. So this could be multiple countries. It could just be one country. It doesn't matter. It doesn't need to be all of Europe. It could just be one of the countries as well, but it can also be multiple countries. And if it is multiple countries, you're not excluded if one of the countries is not in the eligible countries, as long as the majority of them are. You're an abstract, and this is a short overview of the project, which will then be followed by description, where you can give more detail. So if you look at the abstract as the kind of opening statement to describe your project, but you don't need to duplicate what you've written in the abstract in the description section, we can go into more detail. The research question, so this could also be the aims and impacts of your project, but please frame it around the idea of what type of research, what you were looking for when undertaking the project. How you engage citizens within citizen engagement, the members of the initiative, so this could be organizations or individuals. And also we ask you to state how the prize money will benefit your community. We're not asking here for a detailed budget. This is a prize, and we're not going to be following through on how you spend the budget. But we just want to know here, and this is why we asked this question, is that this money will go towards benefiting the community in some way. But you don't need to write an explicit budget like you do with the accelerator OPENCALL. What we ask for next, which is credits. This is any credits, anyone you want to acknowledge that's been supporting the project. This is not necessary. If you haven't got any credits, you don't need to add this. Support received from, this could be any financial or non-financial support you've received to undertake the project. Again, this is not compulsory to enter this details if you do not have it. Keywords, so any keywords that relate to your citizen science project. Software and hardware, this is kind of more to support the Digital Communities Prize. If you've used any innovative use of technologies, any DIY tools would be classified as hardware. Anything that you've made for that, please describe under hardware. And software, any sort of apps that might have been developed, the technologies that have been used in that. These aren't required, so if you haven't been using any technologies, you do not need to enter this here. It is not a requirement for the submission, but this will be very beneficial for any of the projects that are kind of being judged for the Digital Communities Award. What you also have in the database system is the ability to add more details about what we've described in our form as creator or creator groups. So these are all the individuals that have been actively involved in implementing the initiative. Creator group could be an organization or an institution, whereas creator would be an individual. You do not need to include every single citizen that might have been engaged in the project. This is more people that were sort of leading the initiative to include here, and you would detail the citizens in the question earlier on citizen engagement. So for the creator and creator group, this is more what you would kind of say the sort of leaders of the research of the citizen science initiative. What we also ask is for you to upload media. You can upload a maximum of 15 assets of images or any sort of documentation to support your project. You do not need to upload 15 things. We definitely are not asking this. What we are suggesting, and what we do really recommend that you do submit, is to submit a 3 to 5 minute video outlining your initiative or a slideshow. This could be in a PDF format as well. That kind of responds to the award criteria that I outlined earlier. So 3 to 5 minute video or 3 to 5 minute slides is something that we'd highly recommend to add to your application, and this will be assessed by the jury. The jury is an independent jury. It will consist of 5 experts that will sort of review all of the applications and meet together in Linz to decide on the project based on the award criteria I mentioned earlier. This is the timeline. So after the deadline, all submissions will be checked for admissibility and eligibility. They will then go through a pre-selection review by the jury, and then the jury will meet in Linz for a final review in April. You'll expect notifications of the winners in early June, at the latest by mid-June, and the awards will be awarded at the Ars Electronica Festival at the Pre-Ars Electronica Award Ceremony in September later this year. Sorry, I've rushed through this slightly, but I realize that the main thing most of us are here for is to get the opportunity to ask the questions. So please, we'll open this up for the questions, and I'll also add links to those things I discussed further. So Gefjen, shall
Yes. I'm happy to take over again. Let me just stop presenting because you've all seen our slides enough. Maybe you want to see us a little bit. We have 2 questions in the Q&A already, which we'll go through first. I've got some hands up, which we'll come to next. So please keep adding questions in either the Q&A or raise your hand if you want to ask. I'll just start with the first question in the Q&A, which is, the UK is eligible. The project could be implemented in another country like Kenya, and the answer there, unfortunately, is no. The project has to be based in a country in the eligible list that we had on the slide earlier from Andrew. The countries are the same for the prize and for the accelerator. It can be implemented in another country in the European research area, but it must be implemented within the European research area. So you can apply for funds in the UK for a project to be implemented in France or in Italy or somewhere, or the other way around. But both your location as an organization and the implementation have to be in eligible countries. It doesn't have to be the same country, though. And then I have another question. Noise and air qualities in cities, would that fall into challenge 2? Yes, you would have to justify how it fits into the criteria of the challenge and how it responds to the challenge, but they could potentially be eligible. Let me go to our people and see who has their hands up. I have Attila Snantner. I'm going to unmute you now, so you should be able to speak or to unmute yourself. I've unlocked your microphone.
Yes, I am muted. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. So yeah, I'm Attila Snantner. I'm CEO and co-founder of Massively Multiplayer Online Science, and I have a couple of questions regarding the reward. First of all, we are in Switzerland. So Switzerland is not in, I think, in that list, but there is another criteria for eligibility, which is that you have been awarded by a Horizon grant. And we have not just participated, but actually led a consortium in the Horizon 2020 research program in citizen science. Are we eligible based on that?
I'll answer this one. Swiss organization independently would not be eligible. So the Horizon eligibility is not like, if you have received Horizon funding or any European Union funding, you are still eligible, but it does not make you eligible. So it's not necessary to have Horizon funding. But on that note, a Horizon project that involved multiple partners, so the whole Horizon project would be eligible for funding, because the majority, I would imagine, would be within the European research area. But I would suggest then that the application is made and led by another organization within that Horizon project. So if an application is submitted by a Swiss organization, it would not be eligible. if the Swiss organization is part of a consortium where the majority are within the European research area, as outlined currently, because I know that Switzerland was previously a part of the European research area, that would be eligible. Does that answer your question?
Yes, and I have some follow-up questions. So in that case, we can apply together and we can share the award, I guess. The other question would be you were mentioning impact, and impact is quite a broad term. So we have quite bad experiences with that, to be honest. So we have applied for other grants in the impact category. We could prove that we have engaged over 5 million people in citizen science, and then ultimately they chose a project with 15 reviews on Steam. So it's in my experience, it's a very subjective term. What are the most important things that you're looking for?
Yeah, so I mean, it is very subjective, and this will be up to interpretation by the jury members when it does get to the side of subjective way of measuring impact. But things that we are very much looking for is sort of engagement with citizens, and like it could be sort of just with 15 citizens that have been very actively engaged, or it could be, it's not necessarily looking for a large number, but it's really sort of the quality of engagement in terms of citizens as well. And then also, again, with the sort of impact in terms of the scientific results. So we do kind of like look at a list research impact. We're not expecting sort of Nature publications to be drawn by this, but then just very much kind of also looking at sort of contributions to science can be sort of a base level, but the main thing that we're very much looking for in terms of impact is this sort of like science and society sort of crossover and connection, and the way that the citizens have been working together on the project. Does that answer?
Well, it's still for me, it still says that it's quite a subjective thing, but at least they give me some points. Luckily, we have a couple of publications in Nature, so that probably helps. But also a third question is that you are saying that the activity has to take part in Europe. Our activity is absolutely in the virtual space. A lot of European citizens, so out of the 5 million, naturally, but it's not. Like it's not the typical citizen science activity where you go out in the nature and let's say collect data, but it's online data analysis, problem solving, things like that. So that would be the third question: how you judge that.
So it does not need to physically take place on the ground in Europe. Just by taking place in these eligible countries, I would say it just needs to be engaged with the people engaged with it. In these countries, in a sense. So I would imagine that if it's taking part in the virtual space, that the people that are sort of engaging with it, like if 90% of them are from like the US, that for instance would not really be taking place in Europe. But I think in this case, what the eligibility would be really sort of more looking at the organizations that are involved in the project, and if the majority of from them are within this definition of the European research area. So that's completely eligible, and it sounds like a great project. Also, as I said, we're looking at digital communities, and we're very aware that some things don't have to happen on the ground with physically collecting data.
Okay, perfect. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
If I may add to that, I would just like to mention that it is the European Union Prize for Citizen Science, and the European Commission, who is on behalf of whom we are handing out this prize, is looking specifically for citizen science that is actively benefiting the community of European society. So this is the main aim behind this criterion.
All right. I'll move us on to our next question asker. Lucas Schmitz has his hand up. I will allow your mic now. You can unmute and ask a question.
Yes, hello. Thank you very much for the nice presentation. First of all, I must say I have my little son sitting next to me because he couldn't go to the kindergarten. So if he's talking, I'm sorry for that, but right now he's quiet, so that's how it works. Well, I am working for an organization, and we have a lot of like projects going on, and also, of course, we have finished projects, and I was basically attending to this meeting here to you know, to understand or to get an idea which of our projects would fit most. And now I see basically a number of projects with which we could apply for the different you know, pillars of your course. So maybe something fits into the accelerator part and something fits into the price part. So my question is, how would that you know, how is there a limit of like projects that we could try to apply, or can we maybe apply one project for the price and one project for the accelerator part, or maybe even one for the kickstarting and one for the ongoing project thing? How is that?
Let me quickly answer the part about the accelerator call. You can only apply for one of the grants with one project. So every organization can only be part of one application, and you will have to decide which one suits best. I'll hand over to Andrew or Vanessa for the prize part of that question.
Yes, so an institution or organization can make multiple applications to the prize. So if you have multiple projects that you've done at your institution, you could apply differently with each project. You can projects that have submitted to the accelerator can also be submitted to the prize, but like just to note that the prize is looking for sort of projects that have demonstrated that have been existing. So a lot of the projects that are more sort of suitable for the accelerator might not be so sort of more ups. Definitely the kickstarting projects would not be sort of suitable for the prize. But yeah, you can submit them to both the independently assessed and yeah, they're eligible, and you can submit multiple organizations. So if you have multiple projects from one organization, you can submit them all.
All right, thank you very much. May I ask one more question?
If it's quick.
Yeah. All right. Yes, I try. Well, we in some of our projects we are not yet basically working together with a university or with a real research institute. We are an NGO, but what I understand from your definition of citizen science, it is that it's somehow progressive research. So also developing a research question or just collecting data already probably would be, you know, would fit into that definition, even if there is no university or research institution like involved in it. Like, would that be enough already? Basically collecting data, and we will see later how we you know, maybe publish it or something.
Yes, for the accelerator, that would explicitly be part of the project as you deliver it. You do not have to have a research institution or university involved in the project. That is not a criterion that we're looking for.
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah, and I would also just add that this is the same for the prize. Like, we're definitely open to submissions from non-research institutions as well, so community actions or NGOs.
All right. Our next question is from, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing this right, Basileos. I'm going to allow your mic now so you can unmute.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me? Thank you very much.
Yes.
I'm from Greece, so it's difficult to pronounce, I suppose. Anyhow, thank you for your informative presentation. There were two questions very quickly. When you say, this is on the accelerator one, so Jeffrey, it's for you. You say, have you already established community data collection? What does that mean? Because obviously when we are thinking of things, we are, for example, I'm a scientist, so the kind of data collection and processing I have in mind, you know, but I haven't actually applied it to a group, and the groups are in my mind, but we actually haven't pinpointed one. So establish means what I would answer that question no in your flow chart. Is that correct? Mm-hmm.
Yes, that sounds
Yes.
correct to me,
Okay,
based
good.
on what you described. So
thank you.
if you have Let me just quickly elaborate on that a little bit for everybody else's benefit. What we're looking for in the kickstarting grants is projects who haven't really started getting off the ground yet.
Exactly.
If you've developed a methodology and paper but haven't implemented it, that would absolutely be eligible for a kickstarting grant.
And a very quick one. I heard you answer the question about atmospheric and noise pollution and so on. So that is a topic in the city part, not the other one, the healthy planet or something. Okay, we have a lot of experience in sort of measuring water quality in the sea, because we are sort of a coastal thing. That would actually go into the planet one, I suppose.
That would, yes, if it's not in an urban context, it could be eligible in the first challenge for a healthy planet. Obviously, you would have to elaborate in your application of how it helps measure those indicators for the Sustainable Development Goal.
Yeah. But yes, but it's not a kind of it is bathing, so it is connected to the city because people go there. But it's difficult to establish. I suppose atmospheric is better. It's more clear. Is that
yes,
correct?
It's ultimately the decision where you think your project fits best is up to you and how you can respond to the challenge.
I'm trying to get the answer out of you, but obviously you're very, very smart. Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll take one question from the Q&A. Let me just quickly sort out this. Who will be the mentors and what is their role? How will they be involved in the project? The role of the mentors is primarily to provide advice. They are not there to work on the project. They are not there to sort of contribute actively to it. They are there as your point of contact, and they are there for you to stay in touch with. Your interaction with the project will primarily be through the mentors. They will have some relevant subject matter expertise. That depends on what your project is and how we can mix and match the mentor pool that we have to the projects that we select. But we have a large pool of mentors that are available, so we hope that we will have someone for everyone. And yeah, that is their role. They will be there as guidance and support, and also to provide guidance to further resources or other mentors or trainers that could be engaged about specific questions. One more from the Q&A. Will there be a possibility to informally or formally review a proposal with you before submission? No, we do not look at applications before submission. We provide this webinar, and you can ask questions here or on email, and we try to be as detailed as we can in our replies, but we do not provide a service to review applications before submission.
That is also true for the prize.
Sorry, yes. Sorry, my default is to go to the accelerator. Apologies. Thank you for pulling me back there. We have the next question from Zala. I will allow your microphone now so you can unmute and ask if you want to. Zala doesn't seem to be with us, so we are moving to number 2 in our list, which is Celia. I'm allowing your microphone now. If you want to unmute, I can't unmute you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. So I asked in the Q&A, but I will repeat my question. So you mentioned organizations. Is that related to non-governmental organizations? NGOs can apply or not?
NGOs can apply. And any kind of organization. It can be NGOs, it can be small businesses, any kind of organization.
Okay, great. And the second quick question, air pollution. So in the second topic, it can be involved, but somehow incorporated within other topics. Is that understood?
Well, the second challenge looks at urban contexts. And one of the issues that is eligible is tackling health issues and dealing with the climate and ecological emergency. both of these could potentially, air pollution project could be part of either of these sub-challenges. You would have to argue how it is in your application. You would have to show how it contributes to these particular challenges.
Sure. That's it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. I'm just checking again, is Zala with us now, or otherwise we will move on. Zala doesn't seem to be with us, so I'm just going to lower that hand. And then we have Roshio, and please correct me if I'm completely mangling your names. If you are with us, you should be number 1 on the list and unmutable now. No? Okay, then we have Noelia. You should be able to unmute if you're there. Andrew, you're muted.
Yeah, I was just about to say, or maybe just also to add that you have to unmute yourself to emphasize again as well when we're doing this, because we can't unmute you. So Rocio, if you are there, you have to click unmute.
All right, I'm just going to continue going through the list for now. We have Aitana. If you want to unmute, you should be able to do that now. I don't know if this is the technology not working or people are just dropping out. So you should have an unmute button somewhere in your Microsoft Teams that would allow you to do that. I'll meanwhile allow the microphone for Evelina.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. We already have registered in system for uploading our proposal in accelerator, but unfortunately we cannot find where exactly in the system we must submit the proposal. Could you please show us by logging into the system?
I can try. This isn't meant to be a live demo, and I don't know whether my system will allow that. But if you go to the OpenCall website, so impetus cs.eu/opencall, there is a link there in that, I think it's the last red box. Let me just quickly open my browser. That has a direct link to the application form. The first time you use that link and you haven't got an account, it will ask you to create an account first.
We already have.
Then when you use that link again and you are logged in, it should bring you directly to the application form. I would recommend, if that doesn't work, that you drop me an email on opencall@impetus4cs.eu with a screenshot, because I don't think that is an issue I can fix on the fly here.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, all right, thank you. Roshio is still there, but I don't know if he's with us. We just had Zala. Is that a new hand or an old hand? I don't know. I'm just going to allow mix now to take Roshio off.
In the meantime, let me go to an easy question from the Q&A. Researchers
yes,
at
please.
the university can apply as well? Question mark. Yes, full stop.
Yes, for either part of the call. They do have to engage citizens, though. Was that what you wanted to say, Andrew?
Oh no, I was just also going to discuss again that, like, you can apply as an individual, You can apply as an organization. You can apply as a group of individuals, so like that does not have a formal status as an organization, but that you would need to nominate one person to kind of be the lead on that. You can apply as a company. You can apply as an institution. So it's very broad who can apply. So just I don't know if we're accepting any applications from cats or dogs, so I think that's excluded.
Yes, I think there have to be human entities in some shape or form. All right, we have another hand up in the Q&A that is from Burke. You should be able to unmute now.
Hello.
Hello.
So thank you for the presentation. I'm just looking at the EasyChair project submission page, and for the Kickstarter project, for the accelerator program, you're asking the project stage. And there are three options: started but nothing implemented. I think, from what I understood, this should be the answer that we have to select. But from our case, we have implemented the application, a mobile application, but we don't have a community that we are actively engaged with. So, and the second answer is actively engaging with the citizen science community, collecting, analyzing data, or completing other project tasks. So I think we should be selecting this one, but I wasn't really sure which one to select, because what I understood as a Kickstarter project, you might be, I mean, the first answer might be more, it might be more reasonable from what I understood. So that really matter in terms of your evaluation, how we select the project stage.
The project stage, so I've had a bit of trouble understanding you there, because your audio was quite bad. So I'm trying to figure out, you said I'm going to have to mute you, unfortunately, because otherwise we've got a really bad echo. Unmute yourself again if you want to speak. The application form requires you to select which stage your project is in, and that is indeed used for us to check eligibility. So if you say you've already got a community, you wouldn't be eligible for the kickstarting. So that has to match the type of grant you are applying for. I was unfortunately unable to really understand the second part of your question. I don't know, Andrew, Vanessa, were you able to catch that, or could you maybe try and rephrase it? And I don't know what it is with your audio. You have a really bad echo that makes it really hard to understand. Or maybe you just write your question in the Q&A and we can try and pick it up from there.
I would love to write that, but I cannot open the chat window. The chat is closed.
Yeah. Try again then.
Okay, sorry for the mic. So my question was, we developed an app. We developed a mobile application, and we will hopefully be applying to the accelerator program for Steve's for life. But there's an application, there's a mobile application. It is a new project, but we don't have the community. So probably then we should be selecting the other option in the project stage.
Yes, when we say, has your project already started, that is primarily about have you started collecting data, have you engaged with the community. If you haven't got a community, then you should apply for a Kickstarting grant. All right. Very good. Then we have Ron. I'm allowing your microphone now. You should be able to unmute.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
I was just wanted to clarify sort of the goal of the program in terms of citizen science. It's like to promote when citizens do science, like bottoms up and grassroots approach, or however you call it. So I'm like wondering, like obviously science is something that is an object of interest of scientists and scientific institutions, but like, does it offer you any sort of advantage if you are just a group of actual citizens who are not really scientists but decided to tackle a problem by doing science and applying it to achieve some sort of improvement in the challenges that you present? Or is it not really important and you are just in, I don't know, a huge university and you have a science project that will include some citizens and it will be treated kind of the same?
I don't know if your question is primarily about the accelerator or the prize, but the answer is probably going to be the same for either of them. Impetus is about citizen science, so we cannot accept applications that are not citizen science. And we have the definition of citizen science, including some examples on our website. I read it out or also described it earlier at the beginning of the presentation. It just sort of being a researcher and conducting a survey and having human participants in a research project is not the same as citizen science. So you would have to have active engagement of citizens in the research. Which part of the research of that doesn't matter so much, but this citizens shouldn't be the subject of the research. They should be conducting the research.
Okay,
I hope that's
a clear criterion. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Then we have Katerina. Yes, Andrew?
I might just also go to a couple of the questions in the Q&A that
Yes,
I think I'll address them to you, but there's one from Chris Van Heel saying, we're an equipment and tech provider for traffic counting in a citizen science setting. We've been contacted by many grassroots organizations. We've shared with many groups and we might be involved. That would mean we may be involved in multiple independent bids. Is this allowed in terms of the accelerator?
Yeah, unfortunately, the answer is no. You can support multiple applications, but if you are an applicant, you can only be part of one application.
Also related to this topic for the accelerator is another question from Katerina.
Let me just interrupt you, sorry, because Chris has raised their hand, so maybe you want to.
Oh, sorry, was that the same answer? Was that Chris Van Helle? I'll allow your microphone now. Yep. Chris, if you have a follow-up to that.
Yep, that's me. Hi, can you hear me fine?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I'll probably have to explain. So we do citizen science project ourselves, but we also provide the equipment for third parties who do that citizen science themselves. So I've been checking the guideline and the eligibility criteria. So what I think, what I thought would be possible is that we are a subcontractor for these grassroots organizations, which are then, I mean, like you said, they're factual organization or just a local citizen activist group. In some cases, they are an NGO, established legal entity, but in some cases, it's just one guy. But what we want to do is, I mean, they're contacting us to setting up a project with Telegram, but they don't have the funds. So we saw this call coming open. We said, look, guys, there may be an opportunity for your project. Check this out. And I mean, there's been 20 or 25 of these groups which have contacted us, I mean, over the past time. Well, if they imagine that 5 or 6 will proceed and they all want to do that, and we would be a subcontractor or equipment provider, I don't know, not a partner, but a subcontractor or equipment provider, would that be allowed? Yes, no?
That would be allowed. It would have to be ultimately within reasonable boundaries of being a subcontractor. So if as a subcontractor you deliver 2/3 of the project, that would not be possible. If as a subcontractor you provide the sensors or some sort of machinery or equipment and the project is run by somebody else, that is a perfectly legitimate way.
Okay, that's it. Yeah, that's the setting how we see it. So I would think that we would have like 30 or 50% of the budget max just for equipment and some training on using the platform or whatever. But the lead is clearly with these local entities, and that's how we. Okay, so multiple applicants in that case is fine. I mean, I don't know how many would jump on it, but we'll definitely push it to them and just point them to the opportunity.
Yes, I would recommend you do that. And as I said, so as a subcontractor, you wouldn't be part of the grant, right? Please don't abuse that. Just saying that for the record. No. The intention is not to have as many projects as possible and then be a silent partner in that. It would have to be actual subcontracting.
I fully understand your situation. I mean, I've been Horizon Europe consortium leader also with these subcontractors, so I know what kind of rules you have to abide to, and I just get it. I just want to make sure, and if we push this to these guys, that it's a true opportunity for them, yes or no. That's what I want to know. But I think I know enough. Then we know how to communicate. Okay, thanks a lot.
We'll be very grateful for you to push this out to your entire network. And
well, we can reach out to 20 groups at least. So I will give you the preliminary list. So yeah, you'll get a few. I think. I'm pretty sure.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah. I would
Yes.
also then just follow up from another question from the Q&A, which relates to this eligibility. Can you confirm, this is from Louisa Mitrash, can you confirm only one project per research institute can be submitted for the accelerator? We are a research institute with 300 researchers and many citizen science projects. Would that mean?
The way we have handled it for other parts of the program is that if it's a large institutions, if it's different departments, and the projects are not related and they are not drawing on the same team, that would be acceptable. I wouldn't want to have, I wouldn't accept 5 applications from the same group of researchers in like, I don't know, the social science department somewhere. I would, accept multiple applications from the social science and the computer science and I don't know, the environmental science departments. I think that would be acceptable, but they would have to be independent. All right. Was there more in the Q&A or should we go back to the hands?
I think
There
we go
is
back to
one
the hands.
more in the Q&A.
Okay.
Maybe Andrew, you would like to read that also regarding the accelerator call?
Is this the researchers at a university can apply question? No, here I see it. Higher question regarding the accelerator call. Individuals, legal entities, and consortia are eligible. Can a consortium be led, coordinated by an individual who will collaborate also with legal entities? In case of individuals, are staff costs eligible? What is the expected report evidence, such time, effort by an individual?
Yes, individuals can lead consortia. Oh.
Yeah, Fiona, you're back. We
Can
just
you
lost you.
I can hear you. Can you hear me? Okay, sorry, I don't know what is wrong with my internet just now. So individuals can lead consortia, no problem. They can claim staff costs. It has to be within reason. So you can't just pay yourself like 5K a month while doing a day of work. It has to be sort of within reasonable bounds. That will be part of the assessment as we review applications. The ideal way for Horizon Europe funding would be to just have timesheets where you say how much time you work on the project, and it has to be only time on the project that is costed. We will provide more guidance on how this works when you are successful. So in your application, you only have to indicate what you want to do and where you want to spend your money. And we will provide some support on how to actually go through the paperwork when you are successful. So long as your budget in the application reflects what you want to do and is reasonable in that and sort of has the right allocation for staff cost for the people who need to be paid, then that is perfectly fine, and we can sort the details out once you are selected. All right, I'll go back to Hans. We have 15 minutes left, so let's see if we can do this. I have Iñaki. I'll allow your microphone now if you want to unmute and ask your question. Iñaki, if you are there, you should have an unmute button now that you can click to ask. While we're waiting, I'm allowing Attila. If you want to ask your question, I think you were up before, so you should know how it works.
Yeah, does it work? Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah. Thank you. I'm the problematic applicant. I understood based on all these answers and discussions. I understood that you're not doing any preliminary review of applications, and I understand how it would open up a can of worms, so that's totally understandable. However, I feel that we are probably in the most special situation, running a high impact European, partly European, but highly international, highly collaborative project. Would there be any possibility to give you a short summary of what we are doing, and then just have an answer that whether you think that you would discard it immediately as not eligible or not, because I wouldn't want to invite many people to work a lot, also you to review a whole application when you clearly see that it's not eligible. And it's really quite complex just to ask a simple question on that side.
Yes, that is so. That is what I would recommend you send to the email address opencall@impetus4cs.eu. I've been answering those questions ever since we started the call. So if you just have like a short overview, I can tell you probably, I can give you an indication. I can't give you a definitive answer because that will be part of the review process, but I can give you some indication of what is the, out of the projects you have, maybe a better choice, or whether it would be better for a kickstarting or a sustaining grant. Asking those kinds of questions is fine. You can't send me a whole application form and say, where should this go and how can I make it better?
No, that is clear. Thank you. That's a huge help. Thanks a lot.
All right, thank you.
I would also add that is what we can also do with the European Union Prize for Citizen Science. So if you have any questions about whether or not if your project or initiative does fall within the scope of the prize, we can look at that and give you some feedback on that. But yeah, we can't go through your application for you. But these sorts of things we're definitely open for. And as it is the kind of the inaugural launch of the prize as well, we know that there are a lot of questions for this because those examples aren't out there yet of previous winners. So yeah, please feel free to contact us. And I put the email in the chat: citizenscience@arselectronica.art.
All right, thank you. I think Iñaki has found her or their unmute button if you want to ask now. I can see that you're unmuted, but I cannot hear you, unfortunately. So I'm afraid I don't think this is working. Maybe try to sort out your audio and then come back to us. Or the worst case, you can always email us on opencall@impetus4cs.eu. Even if it's for either, we swap queries between each other all the time.
Or use the Q&A function where you can.
It doesn't work for everyone. It doesn't work for everyone, so that's I think that's part of the problem. I'm now allowing Marit, if you want to unmute.
Yes, thank you. You can hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, cool. My question was about the timing of the project, because you specifically stated between 15th of June and December, I think. And I was wondering, because for a lot of biodiversity projects like birds or insects, the prime research time is spring and not autumn necessarily. Is it possible to write into this call, spend the money in your stated time period to prepare everything and do the research in spring? Or do you need to collect the data within the time frame?
That is a good question. I think that is probably possible. I've heard that probably before. It's just we can't do the timing of the call and the accelerator any other way. I would say that that's probably possible. We would need to see some sort of citizen engagement and some sort of activities with citizens as part of the accelerator. So we can, I do see that the data collection happens later, but I would say that there are other things you can do together with citizen scientists in preparing for that. Yeah. So that would be perfectly eligible. And it would hopefully still allow you to then carry out the actual data collection in the period of the year where that is required.
Okay, clear. Thanks.
All right. Do we have any more questions in the Q&A? No? I still have Iñaki's hand up and microphone enabled, but unfortunately no question there. Are there any other questions that anyone wants to ask that we haven't covered yet, or that you just want to cover again? Lucas is up again. You can unmute now.
Yes, thank you again. My last question will only be concerning the next like meeting that you provide. Would that be covering the same things? Would this
Yes.
be the repetition of the first meeting today? It would be nothing else.
No, I mean, we might adapt some of the slides just to preempt some of the questions we have had today, but the content of the presentations would be the same. It might be different questions. That
Of course,
wholly
okay.
depends on
Yes.
the audience.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right. Any other questions from anybody in the Q&A? Mike, we had Brun up. You can ask a question now if you want to unmute. Brun, if you're with us.
Just a very short one.
Yes.
So both elements, so the accelerator and the price, are like completely separate submissions.
Yes.
Okay, and the set of rules or such, I find it all on Ars Electronica for the price.
Yes. All of
Okay.
the guidance for the accelerator is on the Impetus website, and it's clearly stating it's about the accelerator, and all of the details about the price are on the Ars Electronica website. That's the easiest way to say which the guidance you're looking at.
Okay, fine, thank you.
Then we have, and I'm really sorry if I mangle this, Concentorino. You should be able to unmute now. I can't unmute you. I can only allow you to unmute. So you should be able to do that.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, Centorino.
Centorino,
Yeah,
welcome.
one quick question. If we already start a project, a citizen science project, but we have just done a formation education meeting and no data collection is considered can be considered as a starting project, kickstarting project?
Probably. It would depend sort of these meetings that you've already had, have they been to establish what the project should be about, or are they sort of collecting data with your community already? If you're already collecting data, you should be applying for a sustaining grant. If you're just sort of figuring out what the project is and what it should do, then you should apply for a kickstarting grant.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Welcome. Then we have Louisa. I'm allowing your microphone now. If you want to unmute, you can do that. Louisa, are you with us? I'm really sorry that the technology doesn't allow me to make this any easier. You have to find the unmute button and do that in your own location. Otherwise, we could spy on you. You don't want that either. So I'll give you like 1 more minute to see if you want to post any more questions in the Q&A or want to raise any more hands or find any more unmute buttons. Is there anything else in the Q&A? No? All right. Then I would say, let's close it here. Thank you all so very much for attending. Anyone who couldn't ask their question or anything that couldn't get answered here, please do remember to just email us. We're looking at this, pretty much all day, every day these days. It's opencall@impetus4cs.eu. Andrew, do you want to repeat the email for the prize specifically if people know which one they're looking for?
Yeah, the prize email is citizenscience@ars.electronica.art. But as Gefgen said, if you do email either of us, we will forward it to the relevant one if you do get it wrong.
All right. Just to finish up by saying there is a second webinar if your question wasn't answered today or you didn't catch part of the presentation. The presentation and the Q&A will be uploaded in the next couple of hours, hopefully, so it should be available online very soon, so you can watch back. You can also register for the second webinar or send it to other people who you think ought to be hearing all of this or would be potential partners that you want to be up to speed on everything. Email us. get in touch on all of our channels, and we look very much forward to reading all of your lovely applications for both the accelerator and the prize, and I hope it's going to be awesome. Thank you very much and have a lovely day.
Thank you, everyone.